in the best of your health, and at the same time doing assignments given in different subjects and following the lessons on YouTube. So today we are going to begin with the new chapter. The name of the chapter is the Revolt of 1857. Now, the Revolt of 1857 has a very historic, it's known as a historical landmark in the India struggle for freedom. It was a very important phase in the history of India with regard to the struggle for freedom. The Revolt of 1857 is known in different ways. Some of the Indian historians call the revolt as the First War of Indian Independence. The First War of Indian Independence. Okay? The Revolt of 1857 is also known as the First War of Indian Independence. This is told by the Indian point of view. The British point of view, they refer to it as a Sepoy Mutiny. Sepoy Mutiny. The sepoys means the soldiers, okay? Dissatisfaction of the soldiers as they revolted against the British East India Company. Whatever it is, but one historical fact is that in the year 1857, the Indians, for the first time, revolted against the rule of the British East India Company. That is the most important fact. So the other names are the First War of Indian Independence, Sepoy Mutiny. Now, the British East India Company had taken over India after the Battle of Plassey. When was the Battle of Plassey fought? 1757. 1757. So now from 1757 to 1857, the British East India Company had been ruling the country. That means they have ruled India for about 100 years. So within this 100 years of time, many policies were introduced by the British East India Company. Many reformations were made. Many changes were brought by the British East India Company. Most of the reforms that they made was to suit their own colonial needs, for their own private interest. But some of them were good for the Indian point of view. But majority of the reasons, or majority of the reforms or the changes that the British East India Company brought in India was not liked, accepted by the Indians. So within the 100 years of rule, the British East India Company had been exploiting the country in one way or the other. Many unjust laws, rules and regulations were introduced, and they followed oppressive measures. They did not treat the Indians as Indians. A lot of discriminations were made by the British East India Company. So because of all these things and all, there was a fire burning of resentment and anger and hatred towards the British East India Company. Finally, in the year 1857, this fire broke out. Okay? The fire broke out and the Indians revolted against the British East India Company. So from this chapter, one of the things that we will be learning, the causes which were responsible for the revolt of 1857, under which we have the political causes, the social and the religious causes, the military causes, and the immediate cause. Okay, these are different causes. So we'll be seeing in different headings. What are they? Political causes, social and religious causes, military causes, and the immediate causes. Okay? Then the events of the revolt will not be seen in detail, where it took place, what happened and all. Briefly I will mention it. Then the important one will be the results of the revolt of 1857. Okay? Because of the revolt of 1857, one important change that happened in India is that the rule of East India Company comes to an end, after 1857 onwards, India is now ruled directly by the Queen of England under the British monarchy. India comes under the rule of England. Okay, that we'll be seeing it later on. Now, first and foremost, we'll be going ahead with the causes that were responsible for the revolt of 1857, the first war of Indian independence. So, among the different causes, first we will see the first cause, the political cause. Political causes. Now, British East India Company had captured many regions in India. One, by fighting and defeating the rulers of different independent regions that were in India. And they followed certain policies also to capture the territories of India. Okay? And that was known as the annexation policy. First cause was, let's say, number one, annexation. Annexation of kingdoms like Nagpur, Jhansi, Satara. These were independent kingdoms which were not yet under the British East India Company. Now, British East India Company uses the policy of annexation. Forcefully, they take over these territories of these kingdoms. And some of the kingdoms were Nagpur, Jhansi and Satara. How did they annex these kingdoms? By following a policy of the doctrine of lapse. What? Doctrine of lapse. What's the doctrine or rule and regulation? Okay? Which was mostly introduced by Lord Dalhousie. According to this doctrine, okay, what did this doctrine say? According to this doctrine, if a king or a queen or a ruler of a particular kingdom die without a natural heir, or natural successor, then that kingdom would automatically be annexed or would automatically come under the territory of the British East India Company. Which means, if a ruler does not have his own natural successor, he was not allowed to adopt successors to the throne, they could not adopt anyone to succeed him. So, according to this doctrine of lapse, if a ruler of a particular kingdom died without a natural successor to the throne, then that particular kingdom would be automatically annexed or be a part of British East India Company. So, following this doctrine of lapse, British East India Company annexed kingdoms such as Nagpur, Jhansi, Satara. When you talk about Jhansi, someone should come in mind. Does it ring a bell? Rani Lakshmi Bai. Okay? She also was one of the leaders of the revolt of 1857. Hope you understood this annexation policy, the doctrine of lapse. Number two, second one. Annexation of Awadh. Now, Awadh was one of the kingdom which was friendly ally of the British East India Company. They had been faithful to the British East India Company, and the Awadh was quite popular for its soldiers. The soldiers of Awadh, what we call Nawab of Awadh, had given a lot of support to the British East India Company to extend their empire or to conquer many territories. Okay? Now, the British East India Company forcefully took over Awadh on the pretext of misgovernment. Pretext of misgovernment. The reason how the reason that they gave for annexation of all, or taking all as a territory of British East India Company was misgovernment, saying that the Nawab of all was not able to govern or administer properly. Therefore, British East India Company took over all. And the people of all that never expected this, never thought about it, because they had been faithful, loyal, and an ally of British East India Company. So when all was annexed, what happens? People are very angry, disappointed. Okay? At the same time, many soldiers which were there in all were disbanded, were removed, and they became unemployed. So what happens? There is anger and frustration, and that goes on piling up, and finally this burst into a big flame fire in the year 1857. This is the second reason under the political cause for the revolt of 1857. Next one. Now, Nana Sahib, he later on also becomes one of the leaders of the revolt of 1857. Okay, Nana Sahib was an adopted son of Peshwa Baji Rao. Okay, and he was denied pension, which means it was the British government told that Nana Sahib, being an adopted son of Baji Rao II, would not be given pension after the Baji Rao. Baji Rao was given pension by the British East India Company, and it was told that what you call Nana Sahib now will not be getting any pension, though being a Peshwa or the ruler. Okay, so this also makes Baji Rao angry, and he also leads the battle, or he also becomes one of the leaders of the revolt of 1857. Okay, the third one we'll be taking is what you call the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Jafar. Bahadur Shah Jafar. He was the last Mughal emperor, and being an emperor of India, Mughal emperor, he was also receiving pension from the British East India Company, and he was living in Delhi. The entire India was now already taken by the British East India Company, and a few regions in and around Delhi belonged to Bahadur Shah Jafar. Okay, and the British government announced that after Bahadur Shah, that means after the death of Bahadur Shah, his successors would not be getting any pensions from the British East India Company. And his successors, the successors of Bahadur Shah, were not allowed to stay or live in Red Fort. In Red Fort, that was the capital, the palace for the Mughal emperors at that time. So British government announced, or the East India Company announced, that Bahadur Shah Jafar's successors would not be allowed to live in Red Fort. They would have to vacate Red Fort and live in the outskirts of Delhi. So this was a great insult for the Mughal emperor and his successor. So they resented. People becomes very angry. The Mughal emperor also is insulted. So finally, what happens? Bahadur Shah Jafar also takes the lead in the revolt of 1857. One reason why? Because his successors were not allowed to stay in Red Fort. They had to live in Delhi and live outside Delhi. The next one will be no respect. No respect for the treaties. Now, when the British East India Company started occupying the regions in India, they had signed treaties with different rulers and different groups of people. Okay? Treaties or agreements were made between the British East India Company and the rulers of India as well as the people. But now what happens is, as the British East India Company moves ahead, as the years pass by, they stop accepting the treaties. They do not have any respect for the treaties and the agreements that were made previously. Okay? Whenever the situations arose, what happens? They break the treaties or the arrangements or the agreements that were made previously by the predecessors, the British East India Company and the rulers. All the treaties were broken whenever required, whenever necessary, to suit the needs of the British East India Company. Or they broke it because it was more advantageous for the British East India Company. So these were some of the reasons that were responsible for the Great Revolt of 1857. And these are the political causes that were responsible for what? The British Revolt of 1857. The next one we will see will be the social and the religious causes. Social and religious causes. Now, British East India Company, once they came, they had brought many reforms. And some of the reforms and the changes that they made were very good. Okay? And the British East India Company had introduced reforms such as, number one, A. Abolition of sati, child marriages. Now, sati child marriages were social evils that were being practiced by some of the groups or some of the castes in India at that time. Okay? And when the British East India Company came and they saw this social custom being practiced, sati, hope, you know what sati is. Sati means that if a husband dies, then the wife had to be burnt along in the funeral pyre of the husband. That was the practice of sati. Lot of child marriages were taking place. And the British East India Company saw these things and they found it very inhumane. And it was inhuman. Okay? So what did they do? They abolished these social practices such as sati and child marriages. Now this hurt the sentiments of the Orthodox Brahmins and higher sections of the society. And they said that the British East India Company was unnecessarily interfering in the social and religious customs. Added to that, widow remarriage was introduced. Widow remarriage was introduced, which means the widows were allowed to remarry. This was also not liked by the Indians. What did they say? That the British East India Company was unnecessarily interfering in the social and religious customs. So what happens? That adds fuel to fire, and the hatred against the British East India Company goes on. Okay? Now the next one. When the British East India Company, many Christian missionaries also came to India. And now what happens? They take steps to turn Indians into Christians. To Christianity. Now, missionaries came at that time. And the steps that they took, the moves that they made to change or convert people into Christianity was not good. What did they do? They lured the people. How did they do? They told them, if you become a Christian, then you'll be getting government jobs, you'll be getting these facilities and those facilities. And the steps that were taken by the missionaries were not good. And what did the Indians feel? The Indians felt that these Britishers are here to turn or to convert the entire Indians into Christians. So what happens? People do not like it. And they want to get rid of the British East India Company. Do you get it? The efforts of the missionaries. The effort that the missionaries made, the steps that the Indian, what they call Christian missionaries took up to convert Indians into Christians were not right. And people thought that the Britishers have come, the missionaries have come in order to convert all the Indians into Christian. So we better got to stop them. So because of this, what happens? They revolt against the rule of the British East India Company. The third one, we have seen the British East India Company had introduced Western education. Western education. One way it was good because it opened the minds of the people. It helped them to think scientifically, and a lot of superstitious ideas were thrown away. Okay? But later what happens? Because of the Western education, what happens? People now know about science. Okay? And at that time, religious or education in India was mostly religious. And the Pandits, the Malvis and the priests had a high important position. People had to listen to them. They had to do whatever these leaders of the different religion told them. Okay? But because of the spread of Western education, what happens? The position of this, what you call, religious leaders such as the Pandits, the Malvis and the priests, they come down. They become normal people. Now people know about the reality. Okay? Earlier some of them were bluffing, some of them were misusing their powers and the position. So what happens? Because of Western education, their position come down and they now again become angry and want to fight or get rid of the rule of the British East India Company. Clear or not clear? Okay. The next one, in same chapter, previous chapter, we have seen the introduction of railways and telegraph. The British had introduced railways and post and telegraph for better communication system. And when the railway lines were made, the telegraph lines, telephone poles were what they call put up, the lines, cables were placed and all. What did the Indians feel? The Indians felt that the British East India Company have built up these railway lines, put up these cables to punish the Indians who did not follow the instructions or the rule of the British East India Company. The rumor was that they felt that the rumors was that the railway lines are made there so that they would punish those Indians and put them in the railway tracks and get the train above them or hang them by the telephone wires and cables and all. These were the common thoughts of the people at that time, and it was interpreted also. And what happens? The common people, they believed it, and they also now want to get rid of the British East India Company. And the telegraph system, which was introduced there, is a very new thing. The common people thought as a Western magic. How come some people from somewhere is talking and we hear about it, the things are coming? It is very difficult for the people to understand those days with regard to telephone, telegraph system and so on. Today it's quite common, we understand it. But if you see, the common people at that time, they thought it was a magic. And they thought it was Western magic. They brought to ruin the Indians. So therefore what happens? They all go against the British East India Company. And the last one we'll be seeing under the social and religious causes will be the racial discrimination. The racial discrimination. The British East India Company, the Britishers discriminated the Indians on the grounds of color. Okay, the grounds of color and the race and the origin. Indians were treated as worse than dogs. They were what you call posters and playing the places like the hotels and what you call the carriages and all. The posters were there written as dogs and Indians are not allowed. Whereas the Europeans could go enter those what you call hotels, parks and all. But the Indians were not allowed. So Indians were treated as worse than a dog. They were discriminated on the grounds of race since they were being Indians. Now, these Britishers had come to India as merchants and they are ruling Indians. They are ruling the people who are the real owners. And what happens? There is anger and frustration and hatred against these unjust practices of the Indians. So what happens? They all come together, all this fire which was accumulating in the hearts and minds of people for more than 100 years finally burst into flames. The bomb blast takes place in the year 1857, where the Indians for the first time revolted against the rule of British East India Company. Okay? This much we'll be doing for today. We still have the military causes and immediate causes and the results of the revolt of 1857, which will be done in the next class. Okay? Thank you, stay safe and have a good day.